Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you are, and welcome to this third live discussion dedicated to the winning films of the Health for All Film Festival. We had last week two other live discussions, one on neglected tropical diseases, another one on mental health. And before I give you the topic of this new one, I want to give you a few background info about the first ever film festival organized by the World Health Organization. We received 1,300 entries in this call for films we launched last year. And the quality, so first of all, thanks to all candidates who submitted films, if you are online, and that was great to have so good success in our first ever film festival. And the quality was also very good. The jury had the hard work to decide on the winners. We had a jury made of critically acclaimed artists like Angélique Kidjo, Ricky Cage, Barbara Miller, Wagner Moura, Richard Curtis, sorry for him, and a few others. And we decided they proposed 6 winning films. So today we are going to show you one of the winning film, the Grand Prix, as we say in French, the Grand Prix of the category dedicated to nurses and midwives. So I have with me to have a live discussion with you and others, Sonia Lowman, the producer of this film called War and Grace. Sonia, are you with us? Just to check the connection and to say hello to you and to your audience. Hello, Sonia. I don't hear you. I don't know if you're online and speaking.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry, I had my microphone moving. Yeah, hello, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining from far from Geneva. It's early morning for you, and thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
So you received your trophy already. Maybe Lorena Bernal, my colleague in the film festival, will show you the trophy you received. And also you with the trophy, is that online? That's good. So we are going to speak about your impressions and how you received that after the film. We have also online, and it's really a pleasure, from South Sudan, Grace Tindilo. Do I pronounce your name correctly, Grace? I'm checking if Grace Tindilo is with us. I seems you're mute, I'm told. You're speaking, but we don't hear you.
Okay, it's correct.
Yes, now I can hear you. Thank you for joining from South Sudan. And you are the main person appearing in this film. So we are going to see you in the film, and then you will be with us live to discuss about this topic of midwifery in South Sudan during in a war zone of South Sudan.
Thank you.
Yes. So before I go to launch the film, I want to also to tell you that we are going to have a second edition of the Health for All Film Festival. The call for films will be launched next Saturday. So please go to the WHO website dedicated to the festival, and you will see all the information about the new categories of competition, when and how you can apply, and so on. So please spread the word about this to filmmakers you know, to communities, NGOs, health professionals who can make films. This is a festival open to any type of production made by any person who has a good willingness to make films. I have also with me here in Geneva, Elisabeth Hiro, our WHO Chief Nursing Officer. Welcome, Elisabeth.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being with us. So Elisabeth will dialogue with Sonia and Grace after we watch the film. And the last, but certainly not the least point, you can ask your questions online. You go to the WHO YouTube channel. In case you join through the website, you can switch back to the YouTube channel of WHO. And there in the comments part, you can put your question online. And my colleague Walter Owens from the social media team will send that to me so I could take your questions and ask them to our guests. So thank you very much for being with us. And let's watch now War and Grace, a film by Sonia Lowman.
Life is a miracle. Life is a battle. Life persists against all odds. In South Sudan, life is defined by war. Generations of children have been born into violence. Millions have been displaced, still searching for home, still waiting for peace. It is the youngest country in the world with the largest humanitarian presence and staggeringly high maternal mortality. Here lies the whole horror and beauty of human existence. It's one of the most difficult and dangerous places to be a woman.
My name's Losio. I'm a South Sudanese. I was born in Uganda in a refugee camp in 1968. I trained as a nurse. I worked for around 10 years. From there, what motivated me to become a midwife was the mortality rate of mothers and babies in the country. The death rate of mothers in South Sudan was too high. So the initiative of training midwives had to begin. In 2006, they opened a national training school for Kajokeji. It had 3 classrooms, a dormitory for boys, dormitory for girls. We were about 105 students, and then there was problem of insecurity in Kajokeji. There was a lot of gun shootings. The community had all run away. We decided to move away from the school. All what we had were left behind. We only secured lives of people. I had 2 things to decide on. I had a family, which is my biological family, and I had a family which was the students. But I had to sacrifice my life and let the children go with the father to the refugee camp, then made sure that I moved with the students to come to Juba. It comes easy to insert into the vagina. When we arrived in Juba, we rented a place for the students. It's not designed for a school. So we have the rooms enough for their accommodation, but challenge is the classrooms. We do not have any item for skills lab. So the situation now is not the best, but at least it has kept us going. This school is not helping me alone. It is helping the communities of South Sudan, and it is improving the health of South Sudan in general. The outcome of the students that we have trained have motivated me so much.
So as a midwife, your role is to take care of a woman since from the day she got pregnant until the day she delivered, and 6 weeks after delivery. You make sure that you give her the necessary care you can able to give her and save her in case if there is complication. If I'm the one who conducted delivery, my baby is saved and the mother is saved. I myself even will be more happier than the woman who gave birth, because I've saved life and I've welcomed what? Life into the world.
Currently, we are having 3 classes of diploma midwives training. Students come from all over the country. So it's a national training school. My students are united. They feel they are one.
Our life to see peace, and I would love to see if our women are really staying in a peaceful environment and they can able to educate their children without any interruption. So that's what we are hoping for.
I believe only one time the communities will come back, then these trained people will go and work on the communities. The more midwives we have, the more opportunities we give to our pregnant mothers, and the more life we give to our babies.
This is a place with so little, by so many measures, with a future so precarious and paradoxically so wide open. They don't have peace yet. But they do have grace.
Here it is. That's the film who won the prize, the Grand Prix of the category dedicated to nurses and midwives. We had this category this year for the first ever Health for All Film Festival, because this is the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife. So congratulations to you, Sonia Lowman, the producer of this film from the NGO International Medical Corps. Sonia, what is your, how did you receive this prize, and how is it important for the distribution of the film eventually, or other aspects in your communication activities and with your initial goal?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it was very exciting to learn about this opportunity. I have made a couple films sort of on the side of my work with International Medical Corps, but you know, I started talking to them about wanting to do something that really was kind of character driven and focused on somebody who could really illuminate a broader topic, but in a very deeply personal way. And in a way that didn't feel as, I don't know, you know, like either focused on the issue completely at a sort of abstract level, or B, just focused on the NGO and its services, but really, you know, try to get into the life of people who are living through this. And so it was a remarkable experience to meet Grace. She's obviously unbelievable. And then it was just really rewarding to put this film together and to share her story, and then to be honored by the WHO, and to get that much more sort of visibility for the project. And it was very, very exciting for us.
Right. Thank you for these first words. We'll come back on the activity of your NGO and the reason why you made this film. But I want to turn to Grace Losio Tindilo. You're with us from South Sudan, as we said at the beginning of the program. How is this film important for you? You are the main person appearing. It's really centered on your story and the activities you implement. So what this film brought in your activities, and what's about this prize as well?
Okay, The whole thing is really exciting. I'm so excited to see that I really participated and won in that film. The film is teaching me a lot of things, much as I am a participant, but it has taught me so many things. The way you saw the film itself describes the situation I'm in South Sudan. So I really appreciate Sonia for her hard work, that she worked very, very hard and made this film successful. Secondly, I appreciate her for coming up to South Sudan, which is a country some people fear to come in. She came to pick the real details from the ground, and that one will show you exactly what South Sudan is. I am happy for that, and I am happy to see that I am also one person who is participating in such.
Thanks a lot, Grace. We'll come back to some more detailed point on what we have seen in the film with your activities there. Sonia, for your NGO, International Medical Corp, what's the impact of this film already? How do you use that, very briefly, and what do you hope to change with this story like that?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to illuminate, the power of teaching and education. That's something that's embedded in sort of the DNA of our organization. It's a humanitarian relief organization, so obviously it's kind of a first responder and always on the ground when disaster strikes. But really have, from the very founding of the organization, have had this model of training, hiring and training local health workers, with really the belief that we don't want to be the organization that just kind of comes in and fixes things and then leaves and there's a gap. We really want to help to ensure that the skills and the knowledge are still going to be there, and however we can do to support the local capacity. So this film, I hope shows the power of that training, seeing Grace educating, seeing this sort of multi-generation story, because she's obviously the educator and she's brought all these students, but then we meet Scovia in the film as well, who is young and has her future ahead of her, and she's going to impact so many people too. So just showing that kind of that passing on of knowledge and skills is so valuable. So we were using this film to really showcase that.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you. I want to turn now to Elizabeth Hiro with me here in Geneva to ask you, Elizabeth. You are the Chief Nursing Officer in the WHO, but you have been this year the part of a jury who advised to have this film as a winning film. What would you like to say as a jury member to Sonia and Grace about their film?
I think, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations, Sonia and Grace. The film, in my opinion, is a very beautifully produced film. It's very impactful. I think there are elements within the film that I feel perhaps gave us insights, but not in depth. The decisions that Grace made to stay with her nursing and her women family in South Sudan and not travel with her home family to a safer environment, I think speaks to the sacrifice and selflessness of our healthcare professionals. And I think this is a really powerful element that kind of was that we were privy to actually see within this film. So I think for me that was the key element in terms of the success of this film.
Thank you. You just mentioned, yes, that the film shows private consequences of the job of Grace, and in the choice she had to do in her life because of the job she wanted to implement. What about if this is in a war zone, could you tell us more generally, in all situations, what is the situation of midwives? And we are going to speak about nurses as well in a moment, but let's concentrate on midwives. What's the challenges for midwives in general that they have to face in other kind of situations, not only war? Is it also harsh sometimes?
I think the challenges are, first of all, I think it's around personal safety. I think that's critical. And it's also about the safety of the women and the families that midwives are looking after. Those are really critical elements. On top of that, I think the challenges of actually ensuring that you have the necessary tools and equipment to actually carry out the task that you need to carry out within an area of limited resources, challenging environments, such as the war zone.
Do you have can you give us a key information about the consequences of such challenges for midwives on maternal health and the health of young children, of babies? What's the consequences that all these midwives are trying to change?
I think the consequences, as I would kind of like to see it, is that we know that maternal and neonatal health and well-being is an indication of the health of the next generation. So that's kind of, where the focus, I think, comes from if you're looking at population health. So I think when you talk about those challenges and what does that mean for midwives, I think this comes into play, the need to actually have midwives that are trained, that meet the competencies of the International Confederation of Midwives to do the work that they do, because we know that 80% of the care can be delivered by midwives. And so I think that's a key element to focus on.
All right, I'll turn to Grace in South Sudan. Grace, maybe on this same question about the consequences. Can you give us a short answer, please? The broad situation of women in South Sudan in the context that we have seen in the film by Sonia.
Okay, the situation of women in South Sudan is really crucial, I can say, because they are really in a very bad situation. One, we do not have a health system which is running on well. Our health system is still very poor, and really women are suffering. If I can reflect back, before the starting of this training, the mortality rate of mothers was up to 2,054. So we were getting better when the training started. These few midwives we produced had tried to lower the mortality rate at least up to 789. But now the situation is a bit challenging because war came back, and at the moment we cannot really know exactly how much the mortality rate is, because people have been displaced, others have gone to other countries. Now, data is not all that well prepared to know exactly what is happening. So the women of South Sudan are really suffering the way you see it in the film. Most of them do not have chance of education. Two, most of them are taken up by parents deciding for them to marry. And then also, so many women do not have the money to go ahead with the studies.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you for this explanation. Sonia, very briefly, on other countries in which your NGO is working, do you also work on other training aspects? And then we are going to switch to other concerns for nurses as well. So Sonia, on maternal health and training of midwives or healthcare professionals in other countries, what's your a few information you could give to us?
I mean, well, International Medical Corps is currently in about 30 countries, and all of them are, disaster zones or conflict zones. And so, yes, absolutely, the training is integral because, again, as we've seen, these kinds of conflicts and disasters displace health workers. And so it's very, very important to try to replace those skills, to try to, ensure that at the community level, there are health workers. So it's not, just expats coming in and having to fill those gaps, but really at the community level. So everywhere we work in very, very treacherous places, Yemen, the Congo, the Syrian crisis, all of these places, we're training constantly to try to make sure that those skills stay there where they're needed.
Yes, thanks, Sonia. So now let's maybe on other aspects of this category in the Health for All Film Festival. As you know, as I said, it was about the international, to pay tribute to the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife. So let's speak about nurses and nursing. What's the impact? Because here we had the impact of the war situation, but globally now we have the impact of COVID pandemic on nurses. And what, Elizabeth, could you tell us about this very harsh conditions for nurses at the moment?
I think the impact is that I think in this International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife, we have a celebration of that designation, but we have COVID-19. And so I think nurses have responded to the COVID-19. I think the impact we see is that the shortage of nurses is having an impact on the services that are being delivered in countries. So we're going to be compromised, I suppose, or see disruptive of essential services because of this shortage. I think we also, within the COVID-19 pandemic, we're seeing that nurses and healthcare workers in general are actually being experiencing stigmatization, they're experiencing violence, they're experiencing harassment because of their risk to COVID-19. And I think these are elements that are coming through the COVID-19 crisis that I think we would like to see that the working conditions of nurses are much more improved, and to make sure that it's not just addressing the shortage in the COVID pandemic time, but actually for future and normal, if there's a word for normal situations. So I think those are really critical. We've seen the disruption in essential health services. We've seen the impact on healthcare workers and nurses in general in terms of the need to actually provide mental health support and psychosocial support. These are elements I think COVID-19 is raising, and I think we need to address it. We need to address it now and also for the future.
Yeah, 1 month ago on World Patient Safety Day, WHO in its campaign highlighted the fact that the safety of health workers is crucial for the safety of patients. Would you have a call to, or what is the usual call that you have done throughout the year for more, to change the situation, to have less pressure on the nurses in their work?
I think the call for us has been to invest in nurses, invest in the nursing leadership, invest in creating more jobs, invest in decent work conditions. And I think invest in education is a critical approach to actually addressing the shortage of nurses.
Thank you. We are going to finish soon this live discussion. I want to turn to Sonia and Grace. As you know, as I said at the beginning of the program, we are going to have the new call for films launched next Saturday for the second edition of the Health for All Film Festival. And Sonia, what would you hope to see coming in the next edition of the WHO Film Festival? Yourself, would you have new films to propose? Would you like to spread the word towards other filmmakers and other NGOs to submit films? And what kind of film you hope could be done on these topics, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an incredible tool. I'd love to spread the word and, submit again. But I think in general, I would just, encourage filmmakers or aspiring filmmakers to really focus on the stories of the individuals, to really, I think, it's really hard to, for a lot of people to really digest, very big statistics that talk about these extremely challenging, urgent challenges around the world. And so we know the power of storytelling to connect with the humanity of one another and to do it in ways that really honors, the humanity, that isn't, kind of further sort of victimizing people or focusing on sort of the deficits and the challenges, but really shows the courage and the resilience and the power of these health workers that are on the front lines. So any way to just help share those stories would be amazing.
Thank you, Sonia. Thanks so much. Quickly, Grace, this film tells your own story. What else you would like to be done in South Sudan in terms of film production for more stories to be told? Very briefly, do you have some topics you think you should be really covered?
Okay, during the COVID, many things have been disorganized, especially the education of my students, and it really hurts me. So what should be done is, if we can reflect on these students and make sure that they train, because when you look at the number of people in the beginning who were dying while delivering children and the number which is currently, we see that the impact of training is really helping a lot in the communities because it reduces. So the only thing to be done to South Sudan is to improve the situation of health services, so that in case of situations like what happened in the COVID time, we will be able to arrest our situation alone. But speaking the truth, where we are is really deadly. The health systems are not all that good. We are training through hardships, because like when Sonia came, I told her, we did not have even enough things. We didn't have an equipped skills lab. We are trying to go the hard way so as to help our mothers. So we could really appreciate if there is any assistance given to the training school so that they can do better.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you. So I'm going to ask the same to Elizabeth, and then we are going to show you another film that had a special mention in this category in our film festival. So Grace, in your situation in South Sudan, please note that we are going to have a category dedicated to health emergencies in the next call for films. So certainly, I hope we'll have more stories from your region, from your country, to be told, and that we are going to highlight that next year as well in the film festival. Elizabeth, just for conclusion, in this next festival, what are your hopes? What kind of stories you think the WHO would like to receive?
I think it's always really good to receive the stories about nurses and midwives in country settings, in primary healthcare settings, in community health settings, in hospital settings. I think it's also good to see whether we could receive some films around education, around students going through the pipeline to become a nurse, and then what happens when they're in the workforce. I think those are really going to be really good stories there to be shared. I think probably one other element I'd want to kind of share is, or hope to see, is some of the leadership, nursing leadership and midwifery leadership agenda that comes through a film. I think would be good to receive.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for being with us on this live discussion. Thank you to Sonia and Grace, and have a good day. Thank you for being with us, and let's hope you're going to produce more films, and for you, Grace, to have a lot of success in your activities in South Sudan. And now, so I don't know if you were with us, you would say, but I say goodbye. Maybe you switch, Lorena, can we see them?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Nice.
Thank you so much. Enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks a lot. And now we are going to show you this film called Nursing in the Community. It's a story about home-based care in United Kingdom. And it's received the special mention of a jury in this category dedicated to nurses and midwives. So let's see now this, and we are going to finish the program with this screening of the film. So goodbye to everybody, and let's be in touch.
Okay, you can tell me when you want me to start.
We already started.
You've already started?
Yeah.
My colleague said to me, why do you want to be a community nurse? And I said, well, because I want to be able to spend more time with my patients. I want to do a varied job. I don't want to be on a ward, the same ward every day. I like planning my day the way I want.
It's helping people. It's making a difference and making sure people that want to stay at home are able to stay at home.
We do see patients from 18 to the grave.
And we do any kind of care that requires a nurse.
And you couldn't really look at what's on your piece of paper and predict how your morning's going to go, which is probably why I quite like it.
And although I'm doing something which probably isn't very nice, which might hurt, or, you know, they still enjoy seeing me. And that's why I wanted to be a nurse, because I wanted to make people happy. I might cry in a minute. Bill? You here? Hello, Bill. There we go.
I'll be all right in a minute.
Head up, bum in. I don't want to just go in and look after someone's wound. I'm looking at where they're sleeping, what they're eating, how they're mobilising, providing them spiritual support if they need counselling. You know, I'm seeing the whole picture that could be affecting their healthcare.
When I start kicking.
Don't you kick me?
No, I won't. Though that's the trouble when I lift my leg.
Woo!
I can't stop it.
It's all right, don't worry about it. I only went to the gym yesterday.
You started me off now, big time.
So I've in district nursing now, probably 23 years. Wonderful, love it. Absolutely amazing.
Okay. Come on. Give me a chance. Well, to me, it's been a lifeline. It breaks your day to have someone come in that door, especially when you're very poorly.
Oh, Shirley, your tummy's misbehaving again.
Oh, no. See, to me, we're like friends now, aren't we?
We are.
So, she torments me and vice versa.
We in-reach into both hospitals to vulnerable adults. So anyone who is street homeless, sex working, asylum seeking, and more recently, gypsies and travellers.
I think everybody is somebody's somebody. Everybody is significant to somebody. You know, they're a person, and people deserve to have a chance. And yeah, and I feel privileged to be able to do that.
It's a great job, but it does come with a lot of responsibility, working autonomously, so you are every day making decisions regarding patient care and treatment. Yes, there are parts of the job that are tough, quite emotionally, because we are dealing with patients towards end of life as well. But we have fun days, like today we go to an exercise class and it's not all doom and gloom. Right at the top end of your heart rate target, which is fantastic.
Yeah?
Yep.
Oh, good stuff.
Working in the community has been a great move for me, fantastic. It's, like I say, it's opened up so many more learning opportunities. I've not only developed more since I've come to the community than I ever did in hospital, I've got a lot more skills than I ever did. It's completely changed my perception of district nursing.
No, they're not just nurses. They'll come and sort you out with whatever problem you've got. They've got the answer.
Often the perception of people working in a hospital is if they move into the community, we don't use advanced nursing skills, but we use every range of nursing skills that you can imagine. The most important one is communication, but everything else, so injections, nasogastric feeds, intravenous drugs, advanced assessment skills, prescribing. It's a place to learn. It's a really good place to learn.
Make sure that it doesn't catch on the other bag, but just on the tip of your finger, just use it to go round. Yes, brilliant. Sometimes the nursing aspect is not what is worrying the patient, it's a psychological aspect. So when we do holistic care, we're taking in consideration the whole person.
so we can talk to you about it more than I can a family, because they don't.
Too close.
Yeah.
You know you can talk to me. Go on. Fire away.
Oh no, I mustn't.
Yes, you must. Go on.
Yes, Marcia talked to me about memory boxes. It's just something I need to do because we have a 13-year-old son. So I'm unlikely to be here for his 14th birthday. So we're talking about what we can put into that and how to do that. So it's not just clinical, not just medical. The most salient point that stuck in my mind from that conversation yesterday was that she said, remember, a memory box is not just about you giving to others, it's about for you receiving from others. Which took me to a nicer place. And that's district nursing.
I wouldn't want to do anything else. I wouldn't want to do anything else. I get up in the morning and I'm ready for work.
I think it's a grand job, and there are lots of different community nursing jobs out there, whether you want to specialise or not. I would never discourage anybody from working in the community.
And that we keep a lot of people out of hospital because we pick up on things quicker, because we know patients so well.
I love my job. I don't think there's any job quite like nursing in the world.
Sometimes I think, oh, I'm a bit sad. How sad, I've been doing this 35 years and I still love coming to work. But I do.
And if you're like me and you want to spend more time with patients and do what we're trained to do, which is deliver holistic, compassionate care, then community nursing is by far the job for you. It's like an advert.
What do you think of the district nurses when they come in?
Lovely.
They are lovely, aren't they?
Absolutely brilliant. It's like having another friend. So it helped me a lot, actually.
They are lovely.
There need to be more district nurses. We can't manage without hospitals, but absolutely you can't manage without district nurses.